Cars today are loaded with fancy gadgets and flashy features. They look cool on the surface, but many of them do more harm than good. Instead of helping, they quietly eat away at your car's reliability and drain your wallet with repairs you never asked for. From pointless tech to overcomplicated systems, these so-called upgrades can actually shorten your car's lifespan. But here's the real question. Is your car hiding one of these useless features? And if it is, how much damage is it really causing without you even knowing? Let's break it down. Pop-up headlights. These lights were the peak of cool from the 1970s through the early 2000s, gracing everything from the Lamborghini Countach to the Mazda Miata. The idea was simple. Keep the lights hidden for a sleek, aerodynamic look during the day and have them dramatically flip up at night. While they looked awesome, they were a mechanical headache. The motors and linkages required to make them work were prone to failure. One light might get stuck open, giving the car a permanent wink, or worse, one could fail to open at all. In colder climates, ice could freeze them shut, leaving you without light when you needed it most. By the mid-2000s, stricter pedestrian safety regulations in Europe effectively killed them off. The rules required smoother front ends on cars to lessen injury during a collision, and the sharp edges of a pop-up headlight were a problem. Plus, modern headlight technology, like fixed projector beams and LEDs, became so small and efficient that the aerodynamic benefit of hiding them became negligible. Electronic parking brakes. For decades, the handbrake lever was a simple, effective tool. You pulled it, a cable tightened the rear brakes, and your car stayed put. It was purely mechanical, reliable, and easy to fix. Now, most new cars have a little button. You pull it up or push it down, and a motor engages the brakes. While this saves a tiny bit of space on the center console, it introduces a world of potential problems. The electronic system is far more expensive to repair than a simple cable. A dead battery means you can't disengage the brake, making it a nightmare to tow the car. Many systems also automatically disengage when you press the gas, which can be jarring and removes the driver's fine control for things like hill starts. It's a classic case of fixing something that was never broken, adding cost and complexity for almost no real-world benefit. Number 20. Touchscreen climate controls. These are another solution looking for a problem. Physical buttons and knobs for temperature, fan speed, and vent selection are perfect for their job. You can find and operate them by feel, keeping your eyes on the road where they belong. Automakers, in their quest to make interiors look futuristic and save a few dollars on physical switches, have buried these basic functions inside a touchscreen menu. A 2024 study by a Swedish automotive magazine found that drivers took more than twice as long to adjust climate settings using a touchscreen compared to physical controls. This isn't just an annoyance, it's a genuine safety issue. Taking your eyes off the road for even a few seconds to tap through menus is a form of distracted driving, and if the screen freezes or glitches, which they often do, you could be stuck with the heat blasting on a summer day until you can restart the car. Automatic seatbelt mouse trackers. If you thought a touchscreen was a bad idea, let's go back in time to one of the weirdest safety innovations ever: automatic seatbelt mouse trackers. Popular in many cars from the late 1980s and early 1990s, this system was a clumsy workaround for passive restraint laws. Instead of a normal seatbelt you'd buckle yourself, a motorized shoulder belt was mounted on a track along the doorframe. When you opened the door, the belt would slide forward to let you in, and when you closed it, it would whir its way back to secure you. The problem was, it only covered your shoulder. You still had to manually buckle a separate lap belt. Many people didn't bother with the lap belt, making the system far less safe than a standard three-point belt. They were also notoriously unreliable. The motors would break, trapping people in their cars or leaving the belt uselessly stuck in the forward position. It was a bizarre, over-engineered system that thankfully disappeared as airbags became standard. Have you ever used any of these trackers? CVT. From one type of annoying whirring sound to another, we have the continuously variable transmission, or CVT. Instead of having a set number of gears like a traditional automatic, a CVT uses a system of pulleys and a belt to provide a seemingly infinite range of gear ratios. In theory, this keeps the engine at its most efficient RPM, boosting fuel economy. On paper, it's great. A 2025 Nissan Sentra with a CVT gets about 34 miles per gallon combined. In reality, driving one can feel unnatural. When you accelerate, the engine often drones at a high, constant RPM, which many drivers find annoying. This rubber band effect, where the engine revs up but the car's speed takes a moment to catch up, feels disconnected. While modern CVTs have improved, with some even programming in artificial shift points to feel more like a normal automatic, many people still dislike the driving experience. They can also be expensive to repair or replace when they fail. Gesture control systems. If tapping on a screen isn't distracting enough for you, some luxury automakers have introduced gesture control systems. The idea is that you can control functions by waving your hand in the air, twirl your finger to change the volume, or make a swiping motion to answer a phone call. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but in practice, it's mostly a gimmick. The sensors often misinterpret movements. You might just be talking with your hands and accidentally crank up the volume to maximum or hang up on a call. The system typically only recognizes a few specific gestures for basic commands, making it less useful than the steering wheel controls that are already there. It's an unnecessary layer of technology that rarely works as reliably as a simple button, adding cost to the car for a feature most owners will probably show off once and then disable. Adaptive suspension. Another expensive and often unnecessary feature, particularly on regular family cars, is adaptive suspension. This technology uses sensors and electronically controlled dampers to adjust the firmness of the suspension in real time. You can often choose between modes like comfort and sport. In a high-performance sports car, this makes sense, allowing you to have a comfortable ride on the highway and a stiff, responsive setup for a winding road. On a Honda CR-V or a Toyota Camry, however, the difference between the modes is often so subtle that it's barely noticeable. The standard, well-tuned suspension on most modern cars is already a great compromise between comfort and handling. Adding an adaptive system introduces expensive, complex components like sensors and electronic actuators that are costly to replace if they fail, all for a benefit that the average driver will likely never feel or use. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel for more of this content. Power folding rear seats. In minivans and large SUVs, you can press a button and a series of motors will whir to life, slowly folding the third-row seats flat into the floor. This seems convenient, but it's often slower and less reliable than a simple manual system. Most modern manual folding seats are spring-loaded and designed with clever levers and straps, allowing you to fold them flat with a single pull in a matter of seconds. The power folding systems add weight, cost, and multiple points of failure. If one of the small electric motors burns out, you could be left with a seat that's stuck halfway up or down, and the repair bill can be surprisingly high for such a minor convenience. Over-engineered cup holders. You'd think holding a drink would be a solved problem, but some car brands have decided to turn this simple feature into a complex, motorized contraption. Instead of a simple molded plastic ring, you get cup holders with spring-loaded grippers, cooling and heating functions, and even lids that slowly open at the press of a button. While a heated or cooled beverage sounds nice, these features add a lot of complexity to an area that is prone to spills. One spilled soda can gum up the intricate gears and electronics, turning your fancy cup holder into a sticky, immovable lump of plastic. Repairing one of these high-tech holders can be surprisingly expensive, with some luxury car owners reporting bills over $300 just to fix the mechanism. A 2025 consumer satisfaction report showed that complicated cup holders were among the top 10 most frequently cited interior component failures in cars under 3 years old. Ultimately, a basic, deep cup holder does the job perfectly well without the risk of an electronic failure. It's a solution in search of a problem, much like the feature that tries to help you see better at night, but often just leaves you in the dark. Auto-dimming side mirrors. This is another feature that sounds more useful than it is. The idea is to reduce the glare from headlights of cars behind you, which the rear-view mirror inside the car already does quite effectively. The side mirrors use sensors to detect bright light and then darken the glass. However, the technology can be slow to react, sometimes dimming too late or not enough. More importantly, it can make it harder to judge the distance and speed of other vehicles, especially in low-light conditions when you need the most visibility. In a 2025 study on driver assist technologies, a notable percentage of drivers reported feeling less confident in their spatial awareness when their side mirrors were dimmed. The biggest issue, though, is the replacement cost. A standard heated side mirror might cost around $150 to replace. An auto-dimming one? You could be looking at a bill of $600 or more because the entire complex unit has to be swapped out. For a feature that offers a marginal comfort benefit, that's a massive price to pay for a minor convenience that a slight tilt of the head could solve. It's a bit like replacing a simple, reliable tool with a complicated electronic one, which is a theme we see again with how we change gears. Electronic gear selectors. Electronic gear selectors have largely replaced the traditional mechanical shifter that connects directly to the transmission. Now, we have dials, buttons, and little joysticks that send an electronic signal telling the car whether to go forward, backward, or stay put. Automakers love them because they free up space in the center console for, you guessed it, more complicated cup holders. But for drivers, they can be confusing and lack the clear, physical feedback of a traditional shifter. It's easy to accidentally select the wrong gear, especially in a hurry. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has investigated numerous incidents where drivers thought they had put their car in park, only for it to roll away. In fact, data from 2025 shows a small but steady increase in low-speed rollaway incidents in vehicles equipped with non-traditional shifters. These systems also remove the ability to feel what the transmission is doing, creating a disconnect between the driver and the machine. While they enable a cleaner interior design, they sacrifice intuitive operation and safety for aesthetics. From one electronic solution to a problem we didn't have, we move to a feature that is supposed to make cars more efficient, but whose effect is practically invisible. Active aero flaps. Active aero flaps, or grille shutters, are another one of those smart features designed to boost fuel economy. These are little vents in the front grille of the car that automatically open or close. At lower speeds or when the engine needs cooling, they stay open to allow air to flow to the radiator. At higher speeds, they close to make the car more aerodynamic, which in theory reduces drag and saves fuel. The problem is that the fuel savings are tiny. For the average driver, the benefit amounts to less than 1% improvement in fuel efficiency, which might save you a few dollars over an entire year of driving. But like other features on this list, they add complexity and another potential point of failure. The motors and sensors that control the flaps can fail, often in the closed position, which can cause the engine to overheat. Repair costs can range from $400 to over $800, completely wiping out any fuel savings you might have ever achieved. It's a feature that adds cost and complexity for a benefit that is almost impossible to notice in real-world driving. And if you think that sounds like an overly complicated way to handle airflow, wait until you hear about how some cars deal with a bit of water. Rain-sensing wipers. These systems use an optical sensor mounted on the windshield to detect moisture and automatically turn the wipers on, adjusting their speed based on how heavily it's raining. When it works, it's a neat little convenience. The issue is that it often doesn't work perfectly. The sensors can be finicky, sometimes failing to activate in a light drizzle or going into hyperspeed when a single bug splatters on the windshield. A 2025 driver survey revealed that over 40% of owners with this feature regularly override it and use the manual settings instead because the automatic mode is too unpredictable. Moreover, replacing a windshield with a rain sensor is more expensive than a standard one, as the sensor needs to be carefully removed and recalibrated, adding to the labor costs. It's a technology that attempts to automate a task that requires almost zero effort from the driver. Adjusting wiper speed with a simple stalk switch is not a difficult task, and it gives the driver complete control, which is exactly what you want when visibility is poor. It's an unnecessary layer of automation, much like the next feature that tries to solve a problem by creating a bigger one. Number 5. Cylinder deactivation. Cylinder deactivation is a technology that shuts down some of the engine's cylinders when they're not needed, like during steady highway cruising, to save fuel. For example, a V8 engine might temporarily run as a V4. Automakers claim this can improve fuel economy by 5% to 10%, While you might see a small improvement in miles per gallon, this technology introduces significant complexity to the engine. The system requires specialized lifters, solenoids, and software to manage the transition, all of which can be sources of mechanical trouble. Over the years, certain engines with this technology have become known for issues like oil consumption and premature camshaft failure. A 2025 report from Independent Auto Repair Networks highlighted that engine repairs related to cylinder deactivation systems were among the most expensive, with some bills exceeding $3,000. For the average driver, the fuel savings rarely, if ever, offset the potential for a massive repair bill down the line. It's another case of chasing marginal efficiency gains at the expense of long-term reliability. And speaking of systems designed to save fuel, there's another one that annoys drivers far more than it helps: complex start-stop systems. These are now standard on most new cars. They automatically shut off the engine when the car comes to a stop, like at a traffic light, and then restart it when you lift your foot off the brake. The goal is to reduce fuel consumption and emissions during idling. While this does save a small amount of fuel, many drivers find the experience jarring. The constant shudder of the engine turning off and on can be annoying, and there can be a slight delay when you want to accelerate quickly from a stop. Furthermore, these systems put extra strain on the car's battery, starter, and engine components. Cars with start-stop technology require more robust and expensive AGM batteries, which can cost twice as much as a standard car battery to replace. According to 2025 data, the average fuel savings from these systems in typical city driving is around 3% to 5%. For many drivers, the trade-off of a less smooth driving experience and higher maintenance costs isn't worth the minimal savings at the pump, which is why the start-stop-off button is often the first one people press when they get in their car. It's an irritating solution, much like our final feature, which adds weight and complexity to solve a non-existent problem: power sliding doors. Next, we have power sliding doors on minivans. At first glance, they seem like a parent's dream. No more slamming doors and an easy way for kids to get in and out. But these systems are notoriously prone to failure. The motors, cables, and sensors that operate the doors are constantly exposed to the elements and the wear and tear of daily use. When they break, and they often do, you're left with a very heavy door that is difficult to open and close manually. Repairing a power sliding door is not cheap, with costs frequently running from $500 to over $1,500 per door. A 2025 survey of minivan owners found that malfunctioning power sliding doors were the single most common complaint for vehicles over 5 years old. A simple manual sliding door is lightweight, reliable, and does the job just fine. Adding a heavy, complex, and failure-prone motorized system is a perfect example of how adding technology doesn't always equal an improvement. Number 1. Self-parking systems. This sounds like something from the future, but they work about as well as a GPS from 2003. These systems use cameras and sensors to identify parking spots and theoretically guide your car into them automatically. The reality is far less impressive. The system requires perfect conditions. The spot must be exactly the right size. The lighting must be just right, and there can't be any obstacles like shopping carts, leaves, or basically anything that exists in the real world. When it does work, it takes 3 times longer than a human driver and often requires multiple attempts, creating traffic jams while you sit there pretending everything is going according to plan. The technology relies on ultrasonic sensors, cameras, and complex algorithms that cost manufacturers about $1,200 per vehicle to implement. This cost gets passed to consumers, who pay an average of $2,500 extra for parking assist packages, according to 2025 automotive pricing data. The system fails to recognize parking spots about 40% of the time in real-world conditions, according to Consumer Reports. It also struggles with angled parking, tight spaces, and anything that isn't a perfectly marked spot in an empty lot. The sensors can be thrown off by rain, snow, or even bright sunlight, making the feature useless exactly when you'd need it most. Many drivers report that by the time they've waited for the system to scan for spots and make its attempts, they could have manually parked 3 times over. If you enjoyed this video, let us know in the comment section down below and turn on your notifications to know when next we upload. See you in our next video. Bye.